And with that, that's it for this course section. Now you learned how you can send HTTP requests, for example, to post data to a backend, to send a post request, which is typically used for storing data on a backend, though it will, as mentioned, always depend on your backend which kind of request is needed. You learned how you can fetch data and also how you can show a loading spinner or possibly an error message if needed by managing appropriate variables and updating the state as needed and then outputting conditional content. And you therefore also learned how to check for possible errors. And of course, you also learned how to extract the data that's sent back. Though that will of course also depend on your backend. How the data is formatted and with which data you have to work will depend on your backend. Here in Firebase case, we're decoding that JSON response body and we're then transforming it such that in the end we again have a list of grocery items. With all these things, we're sending data back and forth, and now we connected this app here to a backend so that the data would not be lost if the app would be deleted or the device would be replaced, but that instead the data is stored on a backend server. Now in this case here, it's a very simple dummy backend, and indeed here all users would be using the same database and would therefore see the same list, but that's just a demo. Of course, for more advanced use cases, you could also add user authentication and protect the data. And if you would want to do this with Firebase, the Firebase documentation also lets you know how you can authenticate your requests and also how you could scope data to users so that not all users can see all the data. But that's something that's related to the backend, not to the frontend here. This section was about getting you started with HTTP requests so that you can build apps that do not just store data locally, but also remotely on a database typically with help of a backend.